I'm Steve G. Jones, clinical hypnotherapist, and I'd like to tell you about hypnosis. First, let's talk about common misconceptions in the world of hypnotherapy. A lot of people think that under hypnosis you can be led to do anything that the hypnotherapist wants you to do. That's not true. Under hypnosis, you will not do anything you wouldn't ordinarily do. Another common misconception is that you won't be aware of anything during your hypnosis session. This also is not true. Let's for a moment examine the different states of hypnosis. First of all, where we are right now, well, where I hope we both are, is in beta, normal awakening consciousness. In beta, your mind is fully engaged, you are awake, you are fully alert. If you slow down just a little bit, like when you're driving a car, watching TV, reading a good book, working on the computer, then you're in what we call alpha. Have you ever driven a car somewhere and arrived and not remembered the trip? That's because you were in alpha. You slowed down just a little bit. It turns out that in that state, you're up to 200 times more suggestible. So, all we really need to achieve is alpha, during which you may very well be aware of everything that's said to you. But rest assured, those powerful messages are still going to your mind and still having an impact on your life.
Have you ever been in a classroom where the teacher drones on and you find it difficult to keep your eyes open? You are drifting into alpha.
The next step down is theta. Theta is the state you're in when you can be woken up pretty easily. Someone can shake you and wake you up. But it would be not too easy to disturb you with a sound or something. Below that is delta. This is the deepest state. This is the deepest state of sleep and the deepest state of hypnosis. The stages of hypnosis correlate to the stages of wakefulness and sleep, by the way. In delta, we could actually amputate a limb without you feeling it. To achieve delta, what we need to do is induce you into a trance, bring you out, induce you into a trance, bring you out, and do this about 10 times until we basically wear you out. Then the surgery can be performed. This is not common. Most hypnotherapists do not perform techniques like this in a surgery room, but it does happen. What we want to focus on, though, is getting you up and running in hypnosis. So we want to make sure that you can achieve at least alpha, at least that twilight state, where you're between wakefulness and sleep. For example, when you just wake up in the morning, you're in alpha. You're not quite awake, but you're certainly not asleep. When you're falling asleep at night, you're in alpha. You're in that twilight between wakefulness and sleep. As I mentioned, in that state, you're up to 200 times more suggestible. The only difference between this and that is that, first of all, in hypnosis, we are causing it to happen, and the other big difference, we're putting positive suggestions in the person's mind while they're in that state. Careful, when you wake up or you go to sleep, when you watch TV during that, you could be getting those suggestions in your mind. Don't want to cause an undue alarm, but that is a scientific fact. So what we want to do is get the person into hypnosis, into at least an alpha state. Now, a lot of schools of hypnotherapy talk about ways to get someone into a deeper state and monitor that state to figure out which level they're at. In my personal opinion, and in my school of hypnotherapy that I run, I do not teach this. I believe that a person will at least be an alpha, and it's not necessary to monitor their state so closely. As long as we've achieved alpha, which is very easy to achieve and maintain, we have a very, very suggestible person, and we can make positive changes in their life.
During the initial session with a client, the hypnotherapist should spend approximately 1 hour interviewing them to find out what is important to the client. The hypnotherapist should also take time to explain the hypnosis process. Given the information supplied by the client, an appropriate treatment plan can be developed.
I see here that you're also interested in motivation.
Yes, absolutely. I'm working on a project and I could really use some help in focus and motivation for that.
Great. One of the main things I work on with people is motivation, whether it's exercise or a project. A lot of times I work with actors to help them just kind of pump things up a little bit. So I'm very well versed in the dynamics of motivating people.
Great.
Your goal should be to have the most productive hypnosis session possible. It's important during the initial meeting to establish a rapport with the client and help them feel at ease. The more relaxed they are, the more effective the hypnosis session will be.
Chapter 1, Inductions. The induction is the way we get the person into hypnosis. Therefore, it's very important that you have the environment controlled. What I do in my practice is I have the person recline in a comfortable chair. I cover their eyes with a comfortable beanbag. Then I put headphones on their head. I have them listen to relaxing music with ocean sounds. I have a variety of music and a variety of sounds. For the very first session, I usually start with ocean sounds and gentle music combined. So I have this on a CD, and my voice is being mixed with that CD onto a cassette tape, which I will later give them to take home and listen to each night until I see them again. So once we've got the client relaxed and all extraneous stimuli blocked out, anything they might see or anything they might hear, car horns, lights, all of that is controlled. It's all blocked out. They're basically just in their mind, listening to relaxing sounds and my voice talking to them over a microphone. What we want to do at that point is just relax them. If they're listening to ocean sounds, I'll probably have them imagine themselves walking along a beach. And it's very important here to involve all the senses. Let them feel the sand. Let them feel the breeze on their body. Let them see the sky. Let them see the beach. Let them smell the salty ocean smell. Involve all the senses you can think of in a very pleasant way. Everything should be very pleasant during the induction. Also, you want to get in the habit of speaking very slowly during the entire hypnosis process. Now, what I'm teaching you is the basic induction. The basic induction, in my opinion, is the relaxation induction. This is where we just relax them. There are numerous inductions, but what I'm trying to focus on here is getting you up and running, either in your practice or making self-hypnosis tapes for yourself, or perhaps working with friends to hypnotize them and improve their lives. So I'm going to teach you the quickest way to hypnotize someone. All right, now close your eyes. Make yourself very comfortable. Focus inward. Start by taking a deep breath in through your nose, inhaling very slowly. Hold it. Open your mouth slightly and exhale very slowly. And feel how good it feels to just relax.
Before we go on, record your own induction. Make it about 5 to 10 minutes long and then leave a silence of 30 to 60 seconds after, because silence acts as a deepening.
Welcome to Chapter 2, Deepenings. Now we've already relaxed the person. We've spent about 10 or 15 minutes just relaxing them, being very boring, drawing our words out, taking them on a trip that is very relaxing. The induction is designed to induce someone into a hypnotic trance. Now, the next step is to further that with a deepening. It just means we're deepening that state. And you're rocking in your hammock back and forth, back and forth. So relaxed, so at ease. And count backwards from 10 to 1 as they do it. And as you begin walking down the steps, I will count each step as you walk down. 10, down a step. 9, more and more relaxed. 8, something like that. A deepening almost always involves numbers, at least when I do it. So if you have someone drive down a road for your induction, perhaps for your deepening, you want to have them pull the car over on the side of the road, get out, get in sort of a meditative state, meditative pose, maybe the lotus position, in their minds, of course. This is all imaginary. And then you want to have them count backwards, perhaps from 20 to 0, as they watch the sunset. And as the sun goes lower and lower, you're counting backwards. 20, 19, 18, 17, down, down, down. And as you count down, you may want to slow down. Now you can also count up, that's fine, and sometimes I'll do that. What you may want to do, and this is totally your choice, what you may want to do is count down for the deepening, and then up when you bring them back up, which we'll talk about later. So you're counting down 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. Notice I'm slowing down as I go on. Initially, you may want to start the entire session with talking in a normal tone, and then slowly slow things down. And when you're in the deepening, you really want to slow things down. Now let me give you an example of the slowest you would talk, because you're not going to slow down to near stopping. You're going to slow down to about this pace. And once you have slowed down to this pace during the deepening, you want to maintain this pace for the rest of the session until you're ready to bring them back out. Notice I'm elongating my words. I'm not fluctuating my tone. I'm keeping my volume steady. I'm not fluctuating my tone. If you fluctuate your tone, you're going to jar them, and the last thing you want to do is jar them. You want to have them very, very relaxed. Now, I do a deepening every time. Eventually, when you work with someone, if they come into your office or your home, wherever you're hypnotizing them, they may very well go into a hypnotic trance just by sitting in the hypnosis chair. Another thing to point out here is that perhaps when you're interviewing them, you want to have them sit in one chair, and when you're hypnotizing them, have them sit in another chair, which is very relaxing. That way, they're trained in their minds to relax when they sit in that hypnosis chair, but to be alert when they're sitting in the other chair. This gives you the advantage of having them fully conscious, fully in beta while you're talking with them and finding out information from them, yet already beginning to drop down to alpha when they sit in that relaxing chair. So eventually when they sit in that chair, they'll know that it's time to go into a hypnotic state, and your work is for the most part done. But just to be sure, I always do a nice long induction and a deepening. Now the deepening you would want to do for about 5 minutes, in my opinion. This is the way I do it. And when I teach people, I teach them to do a deepening for about 5 minutes, or about the length of the induction. So if your induction is about 5 minutes, maybe you'd want your deepening to be 2.5 minutes. Now I recommend a longer induction. I recommend about 10 or 15 minutes for the induction. And then your deepening would be about 5 to 7 minutes. Could even be shorter. The deepening is the icing on the cake. If you've already got someone snoring in the chair, chances are they don't need much of a deepening or any deepening. Now keep in mind, if you're making a tape for them, they may not be that relaxed next time they listen to it. So you may want to throw the deepening in there just to make sure that they're that relaxed every single time. Sometimes when people come to my office, especially early in the morning, they haven't gotten much sleep, or even in the evening. They're tired from their day. They're ready for a nap. They look at it as a way to escape and just take a little nap. They may not always be in that state when they're listening to the tape you make, so adding the deepening can give the session that little extra punch, that little extra push that it needs to really relax them no matter what's going on with them. Now, it is entirely conceivable that even after the deepening, you've got someone who's still squirming, who's still scratching and still moving around. They may be aware of everything you say while they're in hypnosis. Don't worry about this. If they're squirming during the session, if they're still moving around or scratching, or they still seem to be wide awake, even after you've done the deepening, just don't worry. Proceed with what you're doing, because it's highly conceivable that A, they may already be in hypnosis, but that they respond hypnotically. B, they're not very relaxed at all because they're in an office, but when they get home and listen to that same recording, they'll relax very deeply. So either of those things could be possible. Your job is just to proceed. I don't recommend doing any form of testing at this point. Some schools of hypnotherapy talk about doing a testing to assess where the client is. Well, if you find out the client is not deep enough and you deepen them even more and still find out they're not deep enough, you're going to find yourself in an interesting predicament where you're going to continue doing deepenings or something like that. I recommend just proceeding and going on to the next step. The next step, of course, is the script. But before we go there, I want you to take out your practice tape now and record a deepening. So what would this entail? It would entail you taking the scenario you've already set up. You've already got a scenario where they're relaxing, walking along the ocean, enjoying the ocean. Perhaps they're driving. Perhaps they're scuba diving. Take this and take it to the next level. Take it the next level down. Always keep in mind down. And by the way, anytime you can use the word down in the induction or the deepening, throw it in there. You're driving down the road. You're walking down the beach. You're scuba diving. You're going down deeper and deeper. So say, for example, we've got them walking along a beach. The deepening would then have them sitting on the beach, perhaps throwing a pebble into the water and watching it go down and counting backwards from 20 to 1. You can use that one. Or perhaps they're in the desert. You've had them drive out in the desert and they're sitting down and you have them watch the sun go down as you count from 20 to 1. Or perhaps they're scuba diving and then they take a turn down where they go down deeper and deeper. So take what you've already done in the induction on your tape and now record a deepening. Remember, the deepening is just a continuation of that scenario. Or if you can't think of anything to do with them, it's okay to ask them. Say you had them walking along a beach. Well, then you can have them imagine themselves standing at the top of a staircase and walking down a staircase. It's okay if you combine the metaphors. It doesn't ultimately matter. But where you can, make it smooth and make it a continuation, but a deeper continuation of what you already have. So go ahead and record your deepening. This will be after your induction. Now keep in mind, you're going to have your induction, you're going to have 30 to 60 seconds between your induction and deepening, and then you're going to have your deepening, which is approximately half the time of your induction. Chapter 3, Scripts. The script is the most important part of the hypnosis session. The script is what we're doing the whole thing for. We've had the induction, we've had the deepening. That's all designed to get the person very relaxed. Now we're going to actually deliver the message. We are going to drive that message home. We've got them in the alpha state or theta or delta, wherever they may be, and now their brain is very receptive to the message that we are going to deliver to it. So the script is going to vary in length. Maybe it'll be 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. Some scripts go on for a while. Some scripts could be as long as 20 minutes. Everything must be very literal. Don't use too many metaphors at this point. Some people use metaphors. I recommend that for a beginner, you avoid using metaphors. You can use them eventually. For example, if someone wants to run faster, someone might use a metaphor of a horse running very fast through a meadow and jumping over fences, something along those lines. Metaphors can even be more obscure. For example, if someone's having trouble waking up in the morning, someone may use the metaphor of the sun rising very slowly, shining brightly. Metaphors can become very obscure. What I recommend is that initially, when just starting out, you keep everything very literal. For example, you will wake up in the morning. I know it sounds almost too simple, but as I always tell my students, hypnosis is very simple. It's not rocket science. It's very basic. It's been around for a long time, and it's just a matter of getting that precise message to the person while they're very relaxed and very receptive to that message. Remember that when they're in alpha, which is the minimum state they'll be in, they'll be up to 200 times more suggestible. You've got a very open-minded person, if you will. So you want to just get right to the point. You will wake up in the morning. You will run faster. You will be able to retain information you read when you study. You will be the most brilliant actor, and you will get the next $10 million movie easily and effortlessly. You are a non-smoker. You are very confident. You are now free of nail biting, and you are so very confident and amazing and motivated. Things like that, they're directly to the point. Now, in the script, you want to have all those positive suggestions for change. Now, I suggest that you avoid words like don't, and you avoid words like can't. Make everything positive. Instead of saying don't smoke anymore, just say you now desire a more healthy existence, which includes more healthy activities. Something along those lines. Try to word everything as positively as possible. I had a person recently come to me with a script that she had written, one of my students, and it was things like, I won't worry about money anymore. I will find a good home that's peaceful. It won't be noisy and full of people who annoy me, things like that. Don't focus on the negative, focus on the positive. I will attract money in my life. I will attract a peaceful place with wonderful, warm, loving, caring people. The more expressive you are in the positive, the more chance your script has of being fully accepted by the person. Use only positive wording. Talk about what they are moving toward. If they are moving toward having abundance in their life and having more money and more opportunities, then say those things. Don't dwell on the past. Don't dwell on the negative. Dwell on the future. In the future, they are very wealthy. Wealthy spiritually, wealthy emotionally, wealthy financially. In the future, they are a non-smoker. They are very relaxed. They are very peaceful. They have new positive ways of dealing with their former habits. They have more positive ways of dealing with things which affect their lives. So, make your script about 5 or 10 minutes long when you're starting out, and talk about all those positive things. All those positive things that they want to have. If they want to have more money, tell them you can imagine yourself with all of those things you want. That new car, that new job, that money, being very in touch with yourself, being very giving to other people. Include as many positive things as you possibly can. If they want to overcome drinking, have them imagine themselves in the future alcohol-free. If they're having a problem with gambling, have them imagine themselves in the future where they desire more productive activities. Always make things very positive. And here's another trick. Say things 3 times every now and then. Every now and then when you get to a point that you really, really want to drive home, say it 3 times. I'll say it 3 times. I'll say it 3 times. With this, you're really, really, really emphasizing to the subconscious mind that this is something to pay attention to. The more you say something, the more impact it will have. So don't hesitate to repeat. Remember, don't ever worry about being boring or being repetitive or saying things too many times. The more you say something, the more impact it's going to have. So give yourself the maximum chance of getting through to this person. Or if you're making your own self-hypnosis tape, the greater chance of getting through to yourself. So make your script about 5 or 10 minutes long. Pick something that you want to work on. Pick something that you want to do, that you want to become. Maybe you want to have more abundance. Maybe you want to be more confident. Maybe you want to have more power when dealing with the opposite sex. You want to have more control. You want to have greater dating opportunities. Many people want this. They want more love in their lives. Maybe you want to start exercising. Maybe you want to diet. And you just need that little extra oomph in your life that's going to push it over the edge and make your experience more powerful. Well, you can make your own hypnosis tape for that. You can also work with other people. If you go to my website, www.stevegjones.com, you'll see many hypnosis products. I have many CDs there. Take a look. On the link that says Buy Hypnosis CDs, you'll find over 30 hypnosis CDs in various categories: weight loss, confidence, motivation. Feel free to use these titles and make your own tape. Anything is possible with hypnosis. You can work on anything you choose to work on. So if you need some ideas, take a look at that. Also, while we're talking about websites, I invite you to join the American Alliance of Hypnotists, www.americanallianceofhypnotists.com. There, you can join our worldwide network of hypnotherapists. Now remember, www.americanallianceofhypnotists.com or hypnotistalliance.com. Check out both of those. They both go to the same place, one just shorter than the other. And you'll find a worldwide network of people all over the place: England, Japan, California, all over the place, Canada, you name it, we've got members there. So if you want to join a very powerful network, go ahead and join, and we will add you to the referral network. If someone's looking for a hypnotherapist, wherever it is in the world, they can find you on www.americanallianceofhypnotists.com. So check out those websites and look at the products, get some ideas for things you can work on yourself. Now, when you make your hypnosis script portion of your tape, what I'd like you to do is first you have the induction, which is about 10 minutes. Then you have a 30 to 60 second pause between the induction and the deepening. The deepening is about 5 minutes long, or half of the induction. Then you have about a 30 to 60 second pause between the deepening and the script. The script is going to vary in length, but for your first time out, I'd like to do it between about 5 and 10 minutes. That way it's going to be nice and short and concise. Now, I've done scripts that are very, very short, 2 minutes long. It doesn't really matter how long they are. Or, when I've dealt with smokers, I've done scripts that are about 30 minutes long, because smoking can be something where you've got to talk about a lot of areas. You want to go through their entire day, for example, and talk about not smoking after breakfast, not smoking after lunch, not smoking after dinner, trying to find all those times when they smoke and tell them they are very relaxed during those times. Now, of course, you wouldn't say things like not smoking. You would say things like preferring activities other than smoking, having a desire to do other things, being relaxed, things like that, making everything just as positive as you can. So go ahead and use your creativity, but remember, boring is fine. In fact, it's good. Repetition is fine. In fact, it's good. If you can't think of too many things to say, that's fine. You don't have to get creative in the script. The script is very, very surgical. It's very, very pinpointed. You want to do things, for example, like having them imagine themselves with those new attributes they're working on. You want to have them feeling good about themselves, feeling very positive, and you don't have to use flowery wording here. We are not looking for something here like the induction, where everything is fascinating yet relaxing. It's beautiful. It's scenically beautiful yet relaxing. We're not looking for that here. It's not necessary, because at this point we're already dealing with the mind, and the subconscious mind is like a computer. It simply accepts everything that's put into it. We've already penetrated the barrier. We've gotten through to the subconscious mind, and we're delivering our message in a very precise, very surgical way. We're just putting that message in their mind. Or if you're making a tape for yourself, you're putting that message in your mind. So be very precise and get right to the point. Don't worry any longer about painting a beautiful picture or anything like that. You still want to speak slowly in a monotone voice, and you still want to make sure your voice isn't fluctuating much. Very concise. Get right to the point and drive that point. You can repeat that point over and over and over if you want to. If you want to make a very, very basic script and you're finding yourself hard-pressed to find something to say, how about this? A tape on confidence, and saying over and over and over for 5 minutes, I am more confident. I am very confident. I am the most confident person I know. I am very, very confident. Now, whether you use the word I or use the word you doesn't make much difference. If you're using your own voice, just using the word I. If you're talking to somebody else, making a tape or doing a session for somebody else's purposes, I suggest using the word you. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. But go ahead and make your tape and add to it that part which is the script. Make it very powerful. Another thing you want to do is use something called imagery. Now, imagery can be any number of things, but in this case, you want to have them look forward into the future. You've already used imagery when dealing with them walking along the beach. We don't need to be flowery here. We don't need to paint a pretty picture when it's script time. When it's script time, you've already broken down the barriers. You're already dealing directly with the subconscious mind. You want to be very surgical and very precise and have them imagine themselves in the future, being thin, being happy, having the love of their life, having their life go the way that they want it to go, getting that movie, being that movie, having that money, having that love, having that abundance in their life, having that office they want, having that car they want, having everything that they want. Everything is positive, yet it's very, very precise. The subconscious mind doesn't need to be played with. It doesn't need to be caressed and romanced. It just needs exact information. You want to get right to the point. So, I want you to get right to the point right now and go ahead and add the script portion to your tape that you're making or for someone else. Remember, the induction is about 10 minutes long, where you're taking them on a relaxing journey, somewhere that they really enjoy being. The deepening will enhance that by having them go down. If they've been hiking, maybe they're going down a hill. If they've been diving, going down a little deeper. If they've been walking along a beach, maybe they're sitting now and throwing a pebble into the water and watching it go down, somehow being in tune with it going down. If they've been driving through the desert, maybe they're watching the sun go down. And remember, counting is very important in the deepening. Now, what you've got is someone who's very relaxed and you're just doing the script. So leave 30 to 60 seconds between the induction and the deepening, 30 to 60 seconds between the deepening and the script. And go to your script now, be very precise. Make it about 5 or 10 minutes long. If you absolutely have difficulty coming up with something to say, how about something simple like this? Just say over and over, you are more confident, you are more confident, you are more confident, for 5 or 10 minutes. Remember, repetition is not a crime. Repetition is a good thing. So I recommend saying important things at least 3 times, but you can actually have an entire script that's just something simple like that, over and over and over and over, and driving and driving and driving it into their subconscious mind. It can be very, 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 very powerful. Very powerful. All right, go make your script and then come back and join me in the next chapter where we're going to talk about amnesia. Find out what that is next. So go make your script and make it powerful. Make it very, very concise. Use imagery where they're imagining themselves in the future with those attributes. Repeat several things at least 3 times and make it very point. You are confident. You are motivated. You are very powerful. Okay, I think you've got the idea. Now go make that script.
After you have written your script, record it. So far, you have an induction, which is 5 to 10 minutes long, a silence of 30 to 60 seconds, a deepening, which is half the length of your induction, another 30 to 60 seconds of silence, and now your script. Follow that with another 30 to 60 seconds of silence.
Chapter 4, Amnesia. Now, does that mean we're going to take all the work we've done so far and have them forget it, completely wipe it out? Well, the idea is not quite that extreme, but we do want them to forget as much as possible. It's not entirely necessary that they forget any of the session. Amnesia is kind of the icing on the cake. We're taking a very powerful session where they were hopefully very deep. And just in case they remember some of the things that happened, we're going to introduce the idea of amnesia. The idea of them actually forgetting some of the things that happened during the session. Actually, this is not necessary at all. Even if they remember every single thing that happened, and even if they feel they're quote-unquote awake for the entire session, it's still going to be very powerful for them, because remember, they are at least in alpha. They are at least in that slowed down twilight state that you're in right before waking up or right before going to bed. Now, does this mean we're going to have the person forget everything that we've done? Well, we're going to try to consciously throw them off the trail, because some people will come into the office being overly analytical. These are the people who are certain they can't be hypnotized. These are the people who are going to analyze everything you do, and at the end of the session they're probably going to recite many things to you just to show you that they're more powerful than hypnosis. What these people are actually doing is working against themselves. They're potentially wasting their money if they've come to you. That's why we want to do amnesia, to maximize the benefit to the individual. The less information we have them analyzing with their conscious mind, the more chance we have of them having a very powerful session. Now, if they analyze things with their conscious mind and have a total recall of everything that happened in the session, that's actually okay, because the messages still get through. Think about it. Negative messages from our childhood still get through. What if someone were to say to you that you'll never amount to anything, or you're a loser, something like that? Those messages, though delivered in full awakening consciousness, can be very powerful. So hypnosis is not even necessary to deliver certain messages as long as the person is very receptive. If it's a parent or an authority figure delivering those messages will sink in very powerfully. So keep in mind, amnesia is not necessary, and you don't necessarily have to do it every time. In fact, with people who seem to be paranoid or overly concerned about the hypnotic process, you may want to eliminate it altogether. It is not necessary. But when we do amnesia, here's how we do it. There are two ways to proceed with amnesia. One is a very obvious way, where we simply say to them, now you're going to forget everything that happened during the session, or something along those lines. Or you may want to tell them that they may find it difficult to remember certain things that you said during the session. That's a fairly direct approach, telling them they're going to forget things that you said during the hypnosis session. The second way is more of an oblique way, which is the way I prefer. You may want to say something like this. You may find it difficult to remember what I was talking about 3 minutes ago, and you can try to recall what I was saying 7 minutes ago, but doesn't it seem like too much work to try to recall these things? In fact, you may find it takes more effort than you're willing to expend. So just relax, and relax peacefully, and understand that it's not necessary to remember everything when it involves too much work. Now, this is an indirect approach, and oftentimes I'll have clients come out of hypnosis and actually quote this to me and not even realize what it is. That's okay. We're not being deceitful, but some of these things, if they understand the mechanics of them, can actually work against them. We don't want people picking apart the mechanics of everything. That's one of the main reasons we use amnesia, so that the person, if they've been paying careful attention to everything, they will tend to forget certain things consciously. Subconsciously, we never forget anything. Everything we ever hear or see or do or experience is recorded forever in our subconscious mind, and that's all that really matters, what's in the subconscious mind. People who are overly analytical will tend to at least try to stay conscious during the whole process. Now, they will at least be in alpha, but they may not go to the deeper states. This amnesia is one final attempt to have them, number one, experience the true power of hypnosis, and number two, get the full effects by not consciously analyzing things. The less things we have for them to consciously analyze, the more benefit they'll have. Some people, though they come to you and trust you fully, still hold back a little bit. That holding back is actually going to work against them. We want them to give themselves over completely to the process. Amnesia is one way to get them to totally commit. Now, it doesn't always work. Amnesia is not 100% effective, and I don't use it every time. It's just one of those little extra things you can throw in there to potentially make your session more powerful and maximize the benefit to the client. I work extensively with actors, and actors every now and then receive a negative review, though that review isn't being read while the actor's in a trance, or listened to while the actor's in a trance, it can have a very devastating impact on the person's life, affecting their entire career, and sometimes I have to basically rewire the person. My point is this: even if you're aware of every single word spoken during the hypnosis session, it can still be a very, very powerful session. Amnesia is designed to throw the conscious mind off the track, to have the conscious mind forget what actually transpired. If the conscious mind does have a recollection of it, as I've just demonstrated with my example, the hypnosis session can still be very, very powerful, because unlike when those actors are receiving those messages, these messages in the hypnotic trance are delivered at least in alpha, so they have an even greater chance of being delivered, up to 200 times more of a chance than in normal awakening consciousness. So, in normal awakening consciousness, when we receive messages, they can be very powerful. Under hypnosis, they're up to 200 times more powerful, even if we remember them. Amnesia is designed to throw off the conscious mind, but it is not entirely necessary. It's just the icing on the cake. It's the little extra. It's the little extra oomph that's going to add power to your hypnosis session. Having them not be able to recall every single detail of the session is going to prove to them that hypnosis is very powerful. One thing I want to point out, a cautionary note: when you're working with someone on something like memory improvement, or perhaps studying for the LSAT, or studying for the SAT, or studying for the bar exam, do not use amnesia. Though its effects are designed to be confined to the actual hypnosis session, it could potentially reach beyond that, affecting their memory beyond the actual hypnosis session. I recommend that you don't use the amnesia portion of the hypnosis session when you're working with someone in an area that involves them needing the full capacity of their memory. We don't want to take any chances. Probably it won't affect anything beyond the session, but just to be safe, let's eliminate amnesia when we're working on things like memorization or study skills.
You know what to do. Add to your recording some suggestions for amnesia. This can be short, about 30 seconds, followed again by 30 to 60 seconds of silence.
Chapter 5, Trance Termination. Now, this big term means something very simple. We're just bringing them back out of hypnosis. And this can be done very easily. For example, by counting from 1 to 3. 1, you're coming up a little more. 2, becoming very aware of your environment, very aware of your surroundings and where you are. And 3, you are now completely out of hypnosis. Now notice how my voice raised. As I bring them out, I'm getting louder and louder. Now, this can be very interesting, though it's extremely simple, and everything about hypnosis is extremely simple. It can still be a challenge to bring people out of hypnosis. What if you count from 1 to 3 and they're actually in delta, where it's very hard to bring them back up, and they're still snoring, or their eyes are still closed and they're not moving, and you're not certain if they're out of hypnosis or not? Here's what you do. You wait a moment and see if they start moving. See if they start taking the eye covering off or the headphones, or moving somehow, or maybe moving their mouth, somehow indicating that they're out of hypnosis. Few moments, let's say 3 minutes, they are not moving or giving you any signs that they're out of hypnosis. You want to do it again, but a little louder. Now, when I work with people, I use audio equipment and I have them wearing headphones. I'll turn the volume up a little more and say 1, 2, 3 again. 1, coming up out of hypnosis. 2, coming up even more. And 3, you are now completely out of hypnosis. Let's say this doesn't work. Let's assume that they are still under hypnosis, or at least still lying there motionless, giving you no indications that they're out of hypnosis. What do? I recommend turning it up a little bit more. Don't turn it up to where it would be painful for them. You must know what these volumes indicate by listening ahead of time in the headphones and seeing what they correlate to. One very powerful technique, which I used on one of my clients one time, is just turning off the music. You just stop the music. If you've got some relaxing music and ocean sounds playing, and you can control that by stopping it, stop it. Sometimes the introduction of silence will jar them. in not an unpleasant way, but just jar them out of hypnosis. That's what you want to do. Beyond that, if they still haven't come out, just let them relax there for a while and they'll eventually come out. In hypnosis, if people go into a sleep, it'll just be a normal sleep. Sometimes people fear that they might go into a coma during hypnosis and never ever come out, or stay in for a prolonged period of time. This is simply not true. This is myth. What they'll do is they'll go into a normal state of sleep and come out, probably the length of a normal nap. So, use those techniques. First count from 1 to 3, getting louder and louder. Then, if you have a volume control and you have them listening to headphones, increase the volume and do it again. If that still doesn't work, increase it again and do it again. If that doesn't work, just stop the music that they're listening to. If that doesn't work, just let them relax. If they still haven't woken up, chances are they really, really need a good sleep, and you'll be doing them a favor if they don't have to go anywhere and if you don't have anyone coming in. But I have never, ever had the problem go that far. So I think you'll be just fine. The trick is not to worry. Just go ahead and go with what you know and don't worry about a thing. What I want you to do is make a tape of Trance Termination. You've already got your induction, about 10 minutes or so. You've left 30 to 60 seconds between the induction and the deepening. The deepening was about half the length of the induction, so about 5 minutes if you have a 10-minute induction. Then you want to leave 30 to 60 seconds between the deepening and the script. And the script is going to vary in length depending on what you're working on, typically about 10 or 15 minutes. Then you want to leave 30 to 60 seconds between the script and amnesia if you're doing amnesia. Then amnesia will take probably not long at all, maybe 1 or 2 minutes. You want to leave a 30 to 60 second space between amnesia and trance termination. And trance termination is very brief, maybe about a minute. You want to summarize during trance termination. Summarize everything you've done. These suggestions that I've given you will be very powerful, and the more you listen to this tape, the more powerful these suggestions will be. If you ever have any questions on anything that I've talked about, feel free to email me, steve@stevegjones.com, steve@stevegjones.com. I reply to most emails within 24 hours, and I always welcome questions from students or anyone interested in hypnosis at all. So email me, don't hesitate, go right ahead and email me and ask me, or send me your script and ask me to review it. I would be honored to receive a script from you, and who knows, I may even be able to use it in my practice. And if you need a script from me, email me, and I'll be glad to send you a script. I do that for people all the time. It's part of us helping each other and forming a network, a strong network of hypnotherapists worldwide who can help each other. Because ultimately, this is all about helping other people. And I want you to take advantage of every possible tool you have, including my knowledge, to make that happen.